Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain,
I'm Lynn.
and today we're going to be doing a review and talking about the expansion of Fire Tower. This is Fire Tower Rising Flames. It is the only expansion available for the game of Fire Tower. Now, we have already done a full review and tutorial of Fire Tower. I'm going to put a link up above so you can check that out if you haven't already, because we're not going to be going over how to play the game in this video. So if you want to see how to play the game, check it out there. We're just going to be talking about what's new and available if you get the expansion. So a big thank you to Runaway Parade Games, the publishers of Fire Tower and the expansion Rising Flames. And a big thank you to the designers Gwen Ruel and Sam Bryant for sending us both this copy of Fire Tower and the expansion Rising Flames to check out and review. Thank you guys so much. Before we get too into this, we do want to say we've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. There's also a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some cool gamer gear, like this t-shirt I'm wearing here. This is I Drink and I Game, It's What I Do, and it's got a mug of ale and a D20 on it. And also there is a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. All right, so let's get into this with Fire Tower. So now Fire Tower changes the player count. On the base game, it says 2 to 4 players. So Fire Tower adds in a solo mode.
It's Rising Flames.
Excuse me, Fire Tower Rising Flames. Thank you. Yes, it adds in a solo mode and a 5-player mode. So now you can play 1 to 5 players. So that's the first big thing I want to refer to over here. They have a solo deck and they have some new alternate ways of play. But also, and I want to see your opinion on this, there are 2 modes of play in here that make this game much more playable at 3 players, in my opinion, which I feel like is a huge plus. Because not only did they, because the original Fire Tower, when we reviewed it, we talked about the fact that while it's 2 to 4 players, it kind of plays best at 2 or 4. Mm-hmm. And I really felt like the 3-player, because we played this at 3 players, and I liked it at 3 players with the expansion, and because they have 2 different modes. They have one where it's a new version of the Shadow of the Forest, or is it called
Shadow of the Woods?
Shadow of the Woods? Is that the name?
Yeah.
Where it used to be the Shadow of the Woods would only get to do stuff when their card came up, and otherwise it felt like they were sitting around twiddling their thumbs, which wasn't very good. But in this version, you have stuff you can do every round. So, I thought that was great. But then also they have the other alternate method where you get to play a ghost tower, and you can win by making sure all the other towers are burned on your turn, which is also really pretty freaking cool, because you have to be really tricksy to still pull out kind of like a come from behind and have a victory if you play with that mode of play. What are your thoughts on those additions?
I think it's better, obviously, with 3 players now, because if you're the 3rd player out, you have stuff to do.
Yeah, and so it definitely improves the game significantly to be able to properly play it at 3 players. Because while I really liked the base game at 2 and 4, I didn't really feel like I was previously inclined to play it at 3 players, and now I do. So the rule book for the Rising Flames expansion has a ton of new material on it. So the only thing that is mandatory in here, most of it is optional rules. The only thing is mandatory is that if you're playing with the Rising Flames expansion, you're going to be using Firehawks. So the Firehawks, they have these nice chunky wooden meeples. They go out on the board. You place 1 out in each of your quadrants, your quarter of the board when you're playing. And the Firehawks are very interesting. Basically, if fire spreads into their square, regardless of who's spread it there and how it got there, you can remove the Firehawk from the board, remove the fire gem that goes into that square, and put it somewhere else orthogonally adjacent to other fire gems somewhere on the board. Mm-hmm. So they're like a alternate way to keep the fire from spreading too close to your tower, in addition to the fire breaks.
Yeah.
Because they allow you to reposition fire, which is really cool. And they're the only thing that's kind of mandatory. Like, if you're doing the expansion, you got to do the Firehawks. Then the only other thing is basically like the new action cards, which include the cards that allow you to get more Firehawks and to move them around. Every time you play a card, you get to add Firehawks to your quadrant, and then everyone who has Firehawks is allowed to reposition them if they like. And then there's a bunch of just general new action cards that are, slight variations on the ones that already existed. They have new water cards, new fire break cards, new fire spreading cards with new patterns.
Yeah.
New patterns. Some of them are more customizable, like that, and some of them are really weird. Like the one I really like, I was a big fan of that rolling firebrand, which allowed you to move fire gems already on the board because it's supposed to be a burning log, like rolling down a hill. You get to pick 2 fire gems and move them 2 spaces together, I thought that was like the most different, interesting card. What were your thoughts on the cards?
Yeah, I like the new ways to put out fires and make fires.
So also another thing, and this is a minor thing, but it's really cool, and it helped you with something that you didn't like in the base game, which is the big fire gem that goes in the middle. Because you were saying you didn't like not having something 3-dimensional on the middle fire to remind you of it being the eternal flame. So this goes on it, and it has the fire blowing to one side, and just like with the compass, you can face this in the direction that the fire is currently blowing, and this was really cool. It's a minor addition, but a really cool one. So also in addition, they've got, like I said, there's 2 new versions of ways to do 3 players. One uses the Ghost Tower card, which is if your tower is destroyed first, you become the Ghost Tower. You still play as normally, but the only way you can win is to have basically figure a way to have all the other characters die on the same turn on your turn, and then you can win. But it allows you to come back. And then the other thing is, on the other side of this, there's a new Shadow of the Woods card, where every turn you would roll a die and you get to do actions based on what you rolled for the new Shadow of the Woods card, which also, again, still has a way for you to win and still has a way for you to do stuff every turn, which, like we said, was very, very cool. But then after that, we've got like a ludicrous amount of optional rules. So, okay, you've got the extreme weather cards. You've got the new specialty cards where there's a couple new cards that are similar to the water bucket card, where they have a single really powerful ability you can use as an action at one point during the game, and then they flip over and have a weaker action you can use later, right? Those were really cool. I like those. What were your thoughts on those?
I like them. I think I used one of them really quickly, the high winds.
Yes, because you had a handful of wind cards.
Yeah,
What did the high winds do?
The heavy winds. You play as many wind cards from your hand as you wish. For each card, place a fire gem in the direction shown on the card.
Right.
And then draw back up to your hand size and flip this card.
And
I had like half like second or third turn, half of my hand was wind cards, and the wind cards that I had were in like opposite directions of where I was, so I was like, might as well.
Yeah, might as well.
Know?
And so when once you use that, what's the just to give an example, what's the weaker
So then
ability?
you flip it over and you have light breeze. Anytime you play a wind card, you may play 1 additional wind card and place a fire gem in the direction on the card, and then draw back up to your hand size.
Okay, so yeah. And then there's another one that's Lookout. That one allows you to like draw a bunch of cards from the deck and play one and discard the others.
You draw 3 cards,
Yeah.
and you play 1, and you discard the other 2.
Right. And then there's a bunch of new event cards. So it's no longer just Firestorm and what was the other one? Where Mutual Aid. No longer just Firestorm, Mutual Aid. Basically, they have a bunch of other, and these are again optional. You can add which ones you like. There's Mobilization, Full Moon, Kettle Flight, which does new stuff with the new Firehawks. Dry Storm, which then uses the Lightning. The Lightning is another optional thing where you can put these Lightning tokens on the board that as you play Fire Breaks or Fire, where the Lightning is, you get to move them, and you're trying to move the Lightning. They have to still be adjacent to the pieces you just played on the board, but you're trying to move it closer to your opponent's towers and not yours, because then when certain cards come up, that allow you to spread fire from the lightning symbols. So you want them to be right next to your opponent's towers so that you can spread fire into them more easily when those particular cards come up. I was not as big a fan of the Lightning as I was of the Firehawks, but it was interesting. It was adding another totally different mechanic in. And then there's the season cards, which are kind of like event cards that stay up. You mix them through different sections of the deck. After you've shuffled up the deck, you spread it out into 4 sections, and you can put in the 4 different seasons, which are Dry Season, Lightning, Fires, Windstorm, and Migration. Each one literally changes the rules of the game until another season card comes up, and they just stay out for a while. Those were pretty interesting too. And then there's again some more new variant ways to play. My bottom line is, I think all of this is pretty cool. I just think you're not going to want to play with it all at once.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we threw everything in, and
Yes.
it was a bit much. I would say, well, just with the base game, I think with the special cards, there were too few. And with this one, with all of them added in, there were too many.
Yes.
So I would pick maybe 2 to 3 extra cards.
Like I would.
So 5, 5 or 6 of the special cards.
Well, I feel like
total, because we had like a chain reaction of like, you must play this card, and then it had you draw from the deck, and then we got another, you must play this card, and it was just too much. It was.
So my thought was, so you've got a bunch of special cards, and you've got the special season cards. My thought is, pick one. Either pick the season cards or pick the new special cards. Don't do both, because like that was the problem. We just had too many because we had both. So if you add the 4 season cards in, which actually is the way I lean, because I like the season cards, I think the season cards are enough. Now if you prefer just the new special cards, just play the new event cards, the new special event cards. But yeah, you don't need all of them added in. It does get to be a bit much. But other than that, I do think it's really cool that there's a lot of new options in here.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's really cool.
You can kind of tailor each game
Yeah.
to like specific things. If you're playing one game with a person who doesn't like how the lightning works, and you leave out the lightning and you put in something else.
Which like I was a little mad on the lightning, but you didn't like the lightning, right?
Yeah, I never used it. I just didn't like it.
So, or even when we had the lightning season come up,
Yeah.
which I thought the lightning season was cool actually. Juliana was using the lightning season when it came up. She was zapping a bit with that, but yeah, no, I did like the seasons. I love the Fire Eagles. The Fire Eagles are really interesting. I think they're a great new addition. And I really like the 2 new ways to play at 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
And make it so that it's not, not player elimination or soft player elimination. Because like in the regular game, it feels like soft player elimination where, it's kind of like you eliminate the player, but they can sometimes still have something to do. Now they actually have something to do every turn, which I think that's a big plus. I think personally the Fire Eagles and the better way to play at 3 players alone are worth it for getting this expansion if you're already liking Fire Tower. But also it adds in enough more variety with the new action cards that I think it increases the complexity of the game up to just about middleweight.
Yeah.
So because just the new general action cards are really cool. Like you have the ones that let you get more Fire Eagles, and you have the ones that allow you to move gems that are already on the board, and I think it's pretty cool. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it becomes a new middleweight at this
middleweight?
point? Yeah, I think it crosses over.
Maybe. I'm terrible at deciding what's middleweight and what's not. So
fair enough. All right. So okay. Overall, are we gonna? Okay. So obviously, the people who are watching this already are interested in Fire Tower or already own Fire Tower. So the bottom line is, would we recommend, if you are already a fan of Fire Tower or you're already thinking about getting Fire Tower, should you get Rising Flames? I'm going to go first. I'm going to say yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think yes also, because I know I personally really liked the base game, but like you liked it, but you didn't like it as much as me.
Right.
And with the expansion, you can get those people who may not like it as much to play it, because you can add more things to it,
Yes.
and it makes it more interesting. And, like I would play the base game, just the base game all the time. I just really like it. But I know, like, to try and get other people, you might want to be like, oh, well, we have this new thing with Fire Eagles,
I do feel that the expansion has increased my enjoyment of the game. But there's a lot more options. Again, I wouldn't play with all of them in it once again. We tried it that way once, but I think now I would pick and choose, knowing which ones I like best, and would be like, oh, let's this time play with the seasons, and this time we'll leave out the events, and we'll the new and.
Well, I think the seasons plus like the 2 events from the main box would be fine.
Yeah.
I think no events is probably.
Too little.
I wouldn't like no events.
No. But I did like the seasons, because I liked how every time a new season came up, it actually fundamentally changed how the game played. Like there was one season where instead of spreading the fire one space, you spread two spaces. There was another one where a season came up where watercards suddenly became far less effective at stopping fire. That it became very interesting when those seasons came up. It really added more chaos to the board, which in my opinion is some of the most fun is the chaotic nature of the game. So I got a real kick out of that. So I'm gonna rate it first. I'm gonna go for this expansion. I'm gonna go 7.5 stars out of 10. I do feel that this expansion increased my enjoyment of the base game, which is what you want from an expansion. And I like how it's a toolbox where you can pick and choose what you want and leave the rest. And that's really good because there are some things in here I do really like. In addition, again, my biggest plus is that it made 3 players playable for me, which before this, I did not think this game was really very playable at 3 players. But now, I really like it at 3 players. So, 7.5 stars.
I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow!
Did I give Fire Tower 9?
I think you gave it an 8? I don't recall. I'd have to look.
I don't know. I know I was pretty high.
You were pretty high. So, wow.
I like the variability, and while I do like the base game, and sometimes I might just want to play the base game, because it's like you hardly need brain power.
It's very light. The base game's very light, yeah.
The expansion does add a lot of cool, new, and interesting variety.
This has got to be Fire Tower combined with the expansion. This has to be one of your best games you played over the last year. I mean, you've been rating it very highly. This has got to be, I was going to say, with the expansion especially, because that put you all the way up to a 9, which that's like rarefied air for you to get up to a 9 or above.
I don't think all of like last year, I don't think I rated anything higher than an 8.
You had a bunch of 8s. Someone jokingly pointed out that you were rating a bunch of things 8 in a row.
Okay.
On a comment on a video, but like. That said, it's kind of rare for you to get to like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
So this is wow. Yeah. So Fire Tower with the expansion for you is 9 out of 10 stars. That is huge. So that's 2 thumbs way up there for us. If you are getting Fire Tower and thinking about getting the expansion, would recommend just go ahead, bite the bullet, get the expansion, do it. If you already have Fire Tower and you like it, but maybe you'd like to add a little more variety to it, or maybe you'd like to be able to play it at 3 players, get Rising Flames. The Rising Flames expansion is really good. It comes with a bunch of new cool stuff. Has another little cloth bag that you can put the Fire Eagles in if you like, which I like that they keep providing these little bags. But it's more of what makes Fire Tower good. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
So we can definitely recommend it. Well, there you have it. If you enjoyed this review of a board game expansion, you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time,
game on.
It's a much. Oh, hi Nico, puppet bloopers. Oh my goodness. He's like, I have to be in the video. You're both doing the video. Why can't I be in the video? Okay, you're in the video. I'll put you at the end of the video in the puppy blooper section. That's what we're going to do. Okay? You ready to go back on the floor and play with your toys? Go play with your toys. Go play with your toys. Go play with your toys.